With the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible, we call him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Seabird.
Hey, welcome to Combat Vet Vision. Hey, this is a place where I get to kind of talk about my opinions, anything that's going on. It helps combat vets that are out there. It's also educating the public in some way, shape, or form. And it gives a chance for our sponsors, supporters, volunteers to come on here and tell their stories, as well as our combat vets to tell theirs. This is our opinion. This is what's going on in our lives. This is the direction that we're kind of taking things, and we're trying to help a lot of different avenues of support throughout the community. And so, a lot of times I kind of fail to also mention, even though we do it through Warrior Built and the PTSD Foundation of America is one of the organizations I talk most about because I'm heavily involved in those. But even with the PTSD Foundation of America, we have first responders. We have a first responder support group. We have a whole bunch of things going on for that. And today I got a first responder that's going to be talking about some stuff. And Andrew Douglas, hey, thanks a lot. He's developing an app, doing some incredible things to offer this kind of support. So I'm getting him on to talk about that, and we're going to go over some things like that. So,
how's it going, Aaron?
Hey, Andrew.
Good to see
you. Hey,
thanks
for being on. Good to see you, man. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And you're a first responder. You came up with some really cool stuff. You're a firefighter from where? Go ahead and talk about your story, man. Yeah, tell your story.
I'll keep it brief. First off, thanks for having me. It's awesome talking to vets as well as first responders. We're at the end of the day, we're all the same blood, right? We're driven by mission, and it's similar yet different of what we go through. But yeah, no, I started my career in Washington State as a firefighter paramedic. I started actually when I was young as a volunteer. And, through those years had quite a few struggles towards the end of my career, to the point where had a suicide attempt. And, my life wasn't going, the right way in the right direction that was healthy for me. And ultimately I ended up walking away from the job due to my PTSD. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done. But yes, I mean, that's a brief about me. Obviously I'm an open book, so I love talking about my feelings now where I didn't before. And I just hope that our discussion today can really, maybe reach one person that's listening in your audience today, and they can start moving in a path forward of healing. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you. And you mentioned something that's super important. You're able to and wanting to speak about your feelings. So often that becomes like the stigma, right? It's like, hey, do you really want to get in touch with your feelings? Yeah, we do. And the reason why that's important is because does that take away from our ability to be a man? Does it take away? No, it makes us, I think it gives us internally, if you ask yourself this question, do you care? The majority of people that are first responders, or being a corpsman, I'm a first responder, I take care of medicine, taking care of our combat vets, and our combat vets, why are we serving if we don't care? So there's a care that's on a level that's a level of craziness, and someone has to do jobs that nobody wants to do. We have to pick up the dead. We have to see different things. We have to see the traumas of life that nobody else necessarily has to see, because it gets covered up or it gets shielded, right? The media is not allowed to take pictures of some of the things that you're going to see or do, but you got to, where are you going to go with those feelings? Where are you going to talk about that? Why is that so important to you? Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, I started in 2005 as a volunteer firefighter. And back then, they tell you, you need to shut up and keep your feelings to yourself. And I get that, right? In the job, you got to be able to perform in the heat of the moment, and it's okay to be able to suppress those feelings. I think for me personally, speaking as a person who never said anything and put on this big cloak of this happy, successful, firefighter, paramedic, union leader. I put on this mask for so long, and I could only keep it on for so long until it got too late for me. And so really since like my struggles, like I've realized how important our feelings really are, right? And it kind of sounds like, it's uncomfortable talking with a bunch of dudes about your feelings. Like when I went into an inpatient treatment facility, it was a bunch of vets, first responders that were there, and we're all crying together and stuff, and that was like a moment of like realizing like, hey, I'm not alone in this journey. There's a lot of people that are just like me out there that are struggling. If I continue to like suppress these feelings, it's not going to do me any better, and I'm just going to keep circling down a drain. And the second we can start to openly express our feelings, I mean, that's when we're going to really start to see those little micro movements in a positive direction. So yeah, feelings are super important to talk about.
Yeah, I the first time I ever heard this was through General Mattis. General Mattis, obviously a pretty impressive general of my time, but he talks about post-traumatic growth and how important that is. And I think when you talk about getting to the point where you're like, hey man, I'm willing to talk about it, and I have no problem with it, and I understand that. However it might look or feel, the stigma of it kind of doesn't affect you personally, but you can see how the stigma kind of affects the others and affects the system of things. You know, I think it's really important. I think I talk about it a lot on my show, the post traumatic growth, and that's just like being comfortable enough to be able to open up, talk about it to anybody, any open book. You said you're an open book. I mean, that's an impressive way to kind of say it. I'm an open book with mine as well, the PTSD, combat vet deals, things that are going on in my life, and it's super important. And what are you doing with it? Let's talk about that, because yeah, we got this PTSD, but it's so important to move forward in that positive direction. And you've grown. And talk about what you're doing. Talk about you're about ready to develop this app, right? And you're in this cool zone of that development. Let's talk about that a little bit. And that's something that you're doing about it. And this is where you're at.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I like that when you're talking about growth, right? For me, walking away, a year and a half ago, I was like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? And I think I have a good friend down here. I live in Costa Rica, for your viewers. I sold everything with my family and we moved down to Costa Rica. But
Great story.
It's been yeah, we could always dive into that more too. I love talking about Costa Rica. No, so there's
we'll
a good friend down here who's ex-Navy SEAL and worked for the agency afterwards, and so he's been through some stuff himself, right? And we openly talk together, and he said something the other day, that was like very impactful for me, of like, talking about like his growth over the years and struggling with his PTSD and like what he's done, and it's really like it's taking little wins every day, right? And realizing that like today maybe I took a shower. Like today I showered, right? I used to struggle with my PTSD and depression just taking a shower, man. I stunk like shit. And but like just doing little wins like that. So that's what I've been doing this like last year, and there's been ups and downs. But I really like had the opportunity this last year to like find out really who I am as a person. And I still have this like huge passion and desire to like give back to my community, and I really wish I could still be a firefighter, but I can't. So yeah, I mean, I've developed a close network down here of friends, and one day, in talking about the app, I was having a shitty day, and I'm open to my friends now about that, unlike before. And so I'm like, I just want this app where I can just type how I feel, because I'm really shitty at talking about how I feel out loud. Now I'm better, but I'm still not good at it, but I can journal and write about it very easily. So when I talked about this like app of like expressing how you feel and then just burning it, like something as simple as that got my tech friend thinking of like, oh, wow, well, we can utilize technology to help people recognize their feelings, right? Because a lot of times we don't recognize in our feelings and what we're saying. So utilizing AI, our app will basically, a user can go on and say, hey, I'm struggling today. I feel really depressed. I can't get out of my room. And then the AI actually detects the topic that you're talking about and the feelings that are behind that. And then it shows you how many other people are going through the same thing. So you're not alone. And over time, you can get an insightful feedback from that, of like tracking your feelings and how you're doing. And then on top of that, you have like the community group. And we're not allowing people to like communicate directly, but like there's supportive like messages that you can click on and send. But we feel like that's the first step in first responders and veterans in getting help is openly talking about your feelings, because that's going to make it easier for you to say, hey, I need help, and how do I get it? And that's the other problem we're working on solving as well. We're not quite there yet, but our initial app of that, share, connect, and feel, or heal, is coming out in May for beta testing. So if any of your followers would like to support us in that, we need feedback, and they can go to www.siento.io, and that's SIENTO.io. So yeah.
Yep. And I believe I put that in the show notes too. So it's on there, I believe. If not, you can definitely get through me, and I'll give you that information too. Because I did sign up for it, and the only feedback I'd give it like, it doesn't say anything after you hit submit. So you're like, did it
happen
work or did it not? Yeah. And so I think I did it twice. I did it on my phone and on my computer. So I was like, hey, maybe I need to do it on the computer. So just check that out. Just some feedback on that. But it's real simple to log on to this thing and make it happen. So it's really easy. So if you do have the opportunity, check it out. And I think it's super interesting concept is that you don't want to necessarily trigger somebody by hooking them up and letting them communicate directly with somebody else necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the AI as a mediator to kind of like just show. I think that's a cool concept. So the AI is really kind of helping you out in this process.
It's helping, and it's kind of freaky, man. It's like you can be very vague.
It is kind of freaky,
right? Like I've been messing around, like it's working on our end, right? And like just messing around with it, like it gives you very insightful information about your feelings. And it was like kind of shocking for me. And like, that's what I'm like, I think when you say the word AI, there's a lot of scariness around that. And I agree, like there's some stuff, but like, I think it's also going to be revolutionary in certain things like this, right? Like helping people just like be able to like see what they're actually feeling. Cause a lot of men typically just understand anger, right? Which is not even a primary emotion. Like that anger is from something else, whether it's sadness, frustration, and so helping us get and connect with our feelings is how you're going to end up growing, right? In the long run is knowing your feelings and recognizing your body for like, okay, I'm starting to feel anxious right now. I need to bring myself down. And just having tools to help you with that is important.
I think it is important when you look at communication across the board, from the time you're young to this and that, you start to realize like you learn all these different things, right? You learn, if you have an outburst, you're going to get in trouble. If you talk back to your parents, you're going to get this kind of reaction. So these reactions become kind of melted in, but you don't necessarily know how to talk to yourself internally either, because you're just like, hey, I'm just going to react like this because I don't go past that threshold. And so if you really spend some time on yourself, you learn to better communicate with yourself. You learn techniques that are going to help you like talk yourself down or not allow you to like necessarily go too crazy into a family situation and cause that dynamic to fall apart. Or maybe you're going to better be able to handle, communication with your kids or even your dog or whatever it might be. I think if you spend enough time on yourself, it's going to make a huge difference. I think this program that you're talking about is really going to make that difference. And because it's not going to be a stigma, because you're like, oh man, I got to go talk to the shrink again. But what if the shrink's not there today? It might be a new shrink, right? You've been talking to this guy for years. You're going to be like, oh man. But I think if you get this AI dialed in, it's going to be there forever. So it's like, hey, it's the AI. But then that's kind of a scary part, because we've been watching movies about AI for a long time. It
Exactly.
it never like turns out good. It's not necessarily a good thing, right? So, and I think it's more often, always betrayed as the evil character, and that's where things get kind of crazy, right? Yeah, so it's kind of funny.
Yeah, and ultimately, like, we don't want technology does not replace human contact and connection, right? And I want to be very clear is that that's not what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to be that middle person that can hold you over and then direct you to care in the future. That's our end goal is in the long term is to like make sure, because the reality is for our vets, for our first responders, we don't ask for help until it's typically close to crisis or we're in crisis, right? And nobody's actually solving that problem like completely on a big scale of like getting that person that's in crisis connected to care immediately. And how we go about doing that's going to take some work, and we're actively working with psychologists on trying to build this solution that can at least hold us over until we get that brother or sister into treatment, or whether it be with a virtual appointment or something. But the way our system's set up now, and I used to work in Lakewood, Washington, and we had a lot of vets from McCord and Lewis there, and I saw crisis all the time with vets, all the time, and it was really nice for me because I can connect with them on a level of like, brother, you're not alone. Like this is okay. We got you. I've been there, and it's those are the people we need to focus our effort on, right? Because if we can save a life, if we save one life, we did our job. And that's my goal, because I'm tired, probably like you are, of losing friends. It's not worth it. There's hope to get better. Like, I mean, look at us, right? We're trying to do something positive now from a negative experience in our life. And there is hope that you'll get better. And it's easy to stay hopeless, but hopefully people can look at us and say, it is possible. I want to be there one day. It's going to take a lot of hard work, but hopefully one day I'll be there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I wanted to ask you, is there you're going to have like maybe built into the app the direct lines to crisis lines or something like that, maybe, so people can hey, if it's getting too crazy, you can just say, hey, here's the crisis line, please contact this immediately, kind of thing.
Yeah, like
Maybe,
if
it's going to have that. I don't know.
We need to be careful with like suicide and stuff, right? Like if people are suicidal, we need to be able to direct them to care, at least within. That's why while we are an anonymous app, we do ask for a zip code so that we can get you your closest crisis line. And if you choose not to provide that, that's fine. Then it would just go to a national crisis line. Obviously, we're trying to start out and build a really good foundation. And I mean, we have tons of feature ideas like to build on top of what we're doing right now. But we want to really build a good foundation and have committed people that like want to help us build this, because the reality is like, you look at the Facebooks or, that didn't start overnight. It started out like pretty crappy website and like evolved right to what it is. And that's like directly through your feedback. So the more users we have signed up for our beta in May, in 2 weeks, actually, now it's May, would help us dramatically build this into something that truly can make a difference.
Nice. Well, I know you sent me that link. I'll end up getting it out to other people on my network as well, and ask them if they want to sign up for that. So that's going to be really cool. So let's talk about why you moved to Costa Rica and how that process go, and you're doing all this from Costa Rica. And talk about how that's working out for you.
Well, I'll be back and forth to the US quite a bit with this, but so yeah, my wife she had always dreamed of moving to Costa Rica. She came down to Central America, to Guatemala and Costa Rica when she was 16. And so she's like always had this dream. And I had been struggling, and we were like, okay, let's do it. And I'm working at this point, and I have my schedule all dialed in, and we had work trades, And we wanted just to try living a different culture. And we both enjoyed traveling throughout Central America. And then finally I had my like last meltdown. And I was just like, I can't do the job anymore, you know, and okay, well, let's do it. Because the reality was with me walking away from the job, like my wife was a stay-at-home mom for years. I mean, health insurance alone was going to be like $2,400 a month, which eats up like all the little pension that I had through my time in service. And so it was just our quality of life would have shifted dramatically if we had stayed in the US. We wouldn't have had health insurance, which we do here. So there was a lot of pluses for us, and it was affordable, more affordable. There's in some ways it's more expensive, but it's just a really great country. The people here and the values, it really reflects with my family, and the sense of community that you have here is unlike the US. Like it's indescribable. Like people take care of each other. Like if you have a flat tire, somebody's going to pull over and help you change it. If there's a mudslide on the road, all the neighbors get out there and they don't wait for the government to come save them. Like they do it themselves, you know, and they pitch in, and it's just a really great country and a good place to raise your kids. So I'm really happy with the decision we made. And it's just a slower pace of life too. It's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of places that are like that. You know, it just seems like, you know, if you want to have some success, you might have to leave America, because America is becoming, you know, not a place that you really want to raise your kids, or it might not be a place where you want to, the values have seemed to go. Because when I was a kid, I seemed like the values existed. People would stop and help you. Now, now you get worried if if you have to stop, you know, who's going to jack your car, who's going to have this problem. You have these thoughts, right? And so it's cool that you're in a place where you get to see that. And you know, I'm in Poland, I get to see that a lot too. It's like really cool to see that. Even in Ukraine, it was like that too. Because there's not all these government programs. Not everybody's on drugs or homeless. I mean, I've only seen like 20 homeless people since I've been here.
Yeah, we hardly
if you
ever
don't work, you don't live.
I see them in the city, right? In San Jose. Otherwise, we don't see that at all. Like, and when I was working in Lakewood, I mean, we had tent cities, man. Like, it was insane. It was just the amount of suffering you saw on the streets was insane. Especially towards like the end of my career, like the last 3 years, the amount of just people suffering and going into somebody's house that has a kid that has like a mattress only and no food. Like, well, this is America, you know, like I don't care what your political views are on a just human being standpoint. Like, why are people starving, you know, when we're such a wealthy country? It was really hard seeing that towards the end of my career. It really, those are the tolls that take on you, that especially as a first responder, that I don't think we think about as much, because it's not necessarily traumatic as much as it is just seeing the amount of suffering that's on the streets. Is pretty sad these days in America.
Yeah, the inhumanity of it all really takes its toll. And I think it takes its toll too. I mean, as a veteran that served in, you know, Iraq 3 times and coming back, you know, you want people to have these courtesies or respect for the freedoms that we have. And sometimes that falls short in our minds. And so it kind of puts a toll. It takes a toll on me, because I'm here to taste the freedom that I fought for, and I can taste it, and it's really great. But then why do you want to make it so horrible? Somebody, you know, and I think my brother said to me this week, it was funny. My brother always has sayings, but he's like, hey, you know what the cure for homelessness is? To wake up in the morning and get a job. But you can't do that if you're on drugs, if you're going down the bad, you know, the worst path on the planet. You really, you know, and you're not willing to get any help. You're not willing to help yourself. There's a difference between helping yourself to the next problem and helping yourself to a better quality of life. Helping yourself to the next problem is just always need money for the next thing. Hey, I just need to pay my phone. I just need to get a job doing this for a week. But I think that so often is the case. And I'm not making any, you know, politically, I worry about what's really going on sometimes. And I just want to say, hey, just get a job, stay sober.
Mhm.
Sobriety is probably the number one thing that's killing everything. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
That's
I
just
can speak from
my
like the
opinion.
street level of what I saw and dealt with, right? I'll tell you right now what the problem is trauma, is underlying childhood
Mhm.
trauma from a lot of these people. When you talk to them and you hear about their lives and you truly are compassionate and connect with these people on the streets. And I'm not making excuses for the behaviors or the actions. I'm just saying we have a mental health problem in America that if we can start treating that, that's the underlying problem to the alcohol and the drugs. You fix the trauma, you fix the mental health components. I think you see a dramatic decrease in homelessness, right? Because we got to fix the underlying problem. It's like as a paramedic, right? Like when somebody's heart rate was super fast, I didn't treat the heart rate. I treated the underlying reason of why their heart's going fast, right? So it's the same thing with this. Like we need to like focus on the mental health and childhood trauma that people have dealt with and really fix that first before we can tackle the drug problem, because it's only getting worse. I hate going back because I literally feel more unsafe in America now than I do in Costa Rica. Like it's pretty sad.
Yeah. Yeah. I make it
Yeah.
back and forth too. And I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
There's so many issues.
Yeah. But I
Hey,
mean,
if, yeah, go ahead. If is there, you know what? Let's take a break real quick. I got a PSA that's coming on for the VA,
yeah,
and we'll come right back to you, Andrew. Thanks,
love it.
brother.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Do you want easy access to VA Online, as well as other government websites? Then login.gov is the way to go. Login.gov is a U.S. government service that provides seamless access to government websites. By creating a login.gov account, you can use the same email and password to sign into va.gov, My Healthy Vet, VA DoD e-benefits, and the VA Health and Benefits mobile app, among other VA services. Login.gov also allows you to securely sign in to USA Jobs and TSA PreCheck, and to apply for SBA small business loans and disaster assistance. One login, many resources. To create a login.gov account, simply go to va.gov and click Sign In.
Hey, thanks, Andrew. Good to have you back. Hey, I just want to say, if there's anything else you want to talk about too, I know we covered your app, we covered the fact that you're a firefighter, first responder, that you just want to help some other guys. Luckily, you're down in Costa Rica. I'm sure that's super like mentally helping you out in the process too, which is cool. We talk about that. And if there's anything else you want to talk about, and if throw out there how someone could get a hold of you, it's obviously in the show notes, and they can go through me. I'll get you a hold of Andrew, and especially this app as it's going into its beta phase. I'm going to try to get that out to everybody. So much appreciation. Feel free to talk about anything else, brother.
Yeah, no, I can talk about, like this morning I was kind of having a hard morning, and I think we all need to like find our sense of peace in somewhere that's like healthy, whether that's the gym or for me it's like going out. Like this morning like we just started getting rainy season, so it's getting time to like plant, and we have like a permaculture fruit farm here in Costa Rica. And so like today I planted like a bunch of like beans. So you plant beans as your fertilizer, right? And so like just that little like 45 minutes I took out of my day, like when I was kind of stressed and down, to just like go and like connect with that, doing that, or fishing's another big one for me. For your viewers, like find that thing for you that like brings you peace. And like those are those opportunities to like reflect and be grateful for everything that you have and where you're heading in the future. So yeah, I just wanted to finish it off with like some little things like that have been successful for me. Like another one that I really helps me is like I call it my emergency playlist. So if I'm feeling down, I have music that like makes me happy. And if I'm feeling like kind of fight or flight, I have music that can bring me down. And that's another really good tool. And anything that you can use your senses as well, right? There's a method like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have you ever heard of that one with your senses?
I recognize it, but I haven't heard it in a long time.
Yeah, so you use all your senses. So you try to find 5 different objects. And I might be butchering the order, so bear with me. Yeah, it's like 5 objects you see, 4 objects you touch, 3 objects you smell, 1 object one object you taste, or 2? I don't know. Either way, it's using all 5 senses. And you just like break that down, and it slows you down. And that's been really helpful for me. But yeah, there's tons of tools out there, and just go ask for help and learn those things, and have that happy place for you that you can go and kind of decompress. And there's hope at the end of the day that things are going to get better. And it just takes feeling the pain and going through it, unfortunately, to get better. Like, you literally got to feel the pain to get better.
You do. Hey, and you know what's cool about this is, like, you're talking about constructive ways to do it. And I think, so often, if you're not in that post-traumatic growth phase, you're taking some destructive pathways to deal with it.
Oh yeah.
Like we talked about the drugs, the alcohol, just, chaos, and not really handling it the proper way. That's, destructive to your to your family, to your life, to everything. And I love it that you're bringing up these things. And you talk about the 5 senses, and I think, most of my combat vets that I talk to them about, they often bring up that riding a motorcycle hits all those 5 senses: the touch, the feel, the taste, the smell, and the environment. The environment changes, as you're riding your motorcycle through heat and cold and wet, and whatever it is, you're either miserable, but you're still loving it. And it's like a really weird, chaotic control of all 5 senses riding a motorcycle. So I love it that you're bringing it up in that fashion. I've heard it that way, but I haven't heard it in a long time. So it's great that you're throwing that one out there. The fishing, the fact that you're out there, in your garden doing some gardening. I mean, these are constructive ways, man. It's good to hear you saying that. And this is what's needed, to get in touch with your feelings, to have these conversations with yourself, and go through things that are constructive, and come out of it on the other end with either a smile within an hour or two, to days and days and days of just hating life, and hating yourself, and hating everything. So I think you got it right. So much appreciation for it all.
I've failed a lot in my life, right? I think we all have, and it's that failure that drives me in to get better. And I don't look at failure as like a negative. I look at it as like an opportunity to grow, right? Like if you like, when I go out to like my fruit trees, and I like walk around and I touch them and connect, and like hippie, right? But then you see like little growth in these trees every day, like always new growth. And so it's like, I try to compare that to life, in that like we have opportunities every day to grow as a person, as a father, as a husband, as a veteran or firefighter, whatever you are. You have opportunities every day to grow, and it's really just harnessing those opportunities, and appreciating those like failures, and not giving up on yourself, and realizing that like not every day is going to be perfect, but as long as I'm making little steps each day, I have a chance of getting better, and it is possible.
Yeah, I think you made some important observations with everything that you got here. And I think one of the coolest parts is your quality of life. You broke away from the US, you came down here to Costa Rica. You have a lot of channels that are opened up to you, obviously, to create this app. It came about because you went there. So you got a lot of really good things going for you. And it's a good sign to see this. If you're dealing with stuff, take a look at Andrew, and realize, like, if you want some opportunities in life, sometimes you got to make choices that might be scary, but at the end of the day, you learn from the experience, and you're on an adventure that's really an awesome adventure for you. And so that's
Yeah,
pretty cool, man.
my wife and I kind of like chaos in a way, right? Like we like adventure in our life. So I mean,
We like chaos, right?
why not sell all your stuff in the US, move to a foreign country where you don't speak their language, and then might as well start a startup while you're at it. So no, it's been a wild ride so far, and I'm trying to enjoy every minute of it. And if your viewers like want to get a hold of me, feel free to shoot me an email. It's just andrew@siento.io. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or be open and just to be here for somebody. I realize that, you don't always feel like you can talk to anybody. Like I know, especially in the fire service, like I'm not sure if this is as much in vets now, but like people don't like talking about their feelings to each other, and they try to keep that behind closed doors. So, I'm always here if you don't feel like you have somebody, and, please feel free to reach out and ask me anything. So my kids are walking.
Thanks, Andrew.
My kids are walking by right now. It looks like they have suitcases. They have suitcases like they're packing to go somewhere. I'm interested to find out what they're doing.
Hey, that's part of the adventure. But you know what? I also talk about the Battle Buddy program, and what you just did right there is like say, hey, if you're dealing with something, if you want to talk, hit me up. That's a Battle Buddy system, and that's what's cool, because I need to bounce my thoughts off somebody else. I need to hear their thoughts. I need to hear their stories, and I need to know the direction that they went, so that I can either curve my path from going in a direction that's not going to work because it didn't work for this guy. I learned from that process too. But it's also because you're in the same boat, it makes it that much better to be in a Battle Buddy boat, talking to somebody that's dealing with PTSD, working on the system. And first responders very close to having to deal with the trauma of what we see is in combat. So much love and appreciation for you, Andrew. Thanks for being on my show. We'll get you back too, especially when this app's going, and we could talk a lot more about how impressive it is, and we could get everybody signed up for it that we can, and we'll go that route too.
Yeah, it really ultimately it takes us all to step up, and the only way change comes about is within ourselves. So, we need to, if we want to truly change the trajectory of mental health within the veterans and first responder community, it's all within us. So be open with your story, share how you feel with your people that you trust and care about, because one thing in your story could really reach and impact a person. I did a podcast not too long ago, and a female firefighter friend of mine, she had messaged me after she watched the podcast, and she said, you literally described how I felt for years. And when my husband, who's a firefighter as well, watched that video, it described to him what I couldn't describe to him, how I felt. Like that was the best therapy you could have given us. Thank you. And so it's like those little things in our stories and talking about our stories is what's going to make that change and push us forward in a way that people can live healthy careers and lives, whether it's in the military or in the fire service or police officer. Like, we're losing too many good people to something that's totally treatable. And yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, and I definitely look forward to coming back in the future. So thanks again.
Well, thanks, Andrew. Appreciate it. Hey, this is Combat Vet Vision. This is a chance where, we get to have some really cool conversations. Andrew talked a little bit about it. It's cool. I have the series called Creating Chaos, and you can do it both ways. You create it in a good way and go into a really awesome path for yourself. Where that adventure takes you, you just don't know, and it may, you may be willing to take that route, or creating chaos with drugs, alcohol, and a really bad system, and really putting you down into a place that you don't want to be. But hey, hit me up anytime. Hey, this is Aaron Siebert signing off. Until next time, strength and honor. Out.